Anyways, there is one guy that the Arizona Cardinals have to sign. There is no excuse. There is no reason for believing it shouldn't be the case. The Arizona Cardinals have the cap space for a player that should be on this team next season. There are some key must-sign free agents in the NFL landscape this year. But before I get into who the Arizona Cardinals have to sign, you can look at the screen. It's actually fairly obvious at this point. But let's talk about this really quickly. A lot of times fans get upset at Monti Ossenfort for not going all in on free agency last year. Well, lucky for you, I did a little bit of research. I tend to do that on this show. This is why I have always been a key proponent of, okay, let's relax a little bit on free agency. It's fool's gold. Do you know who the number one free agent was last year, according to NFL.com? Kirk Cousins. Do you know who the number 2 free agent was last year? Christian Wilkins. NFL free agency is fool's gold. Just because you spend a lot of money doesn't necessarily mean it's going to result in immediate success. Sometimes it can help in the short term, but it should be supplemented and very carefully eyeing 1 or 2 players that can help you, and then trying to go bargain bin shopping, saving your money, and using the money left over that you have to pay your own very good players. But look at NFL free agency. The number 1 free agent last year, according to NFL.com, Kirk Cousins. Number 2, Christian Wilkins. Number 4, Tyrone Smith. Guys like Jonathan Greenard are on here, Saquon Barkley, Danielle Hunter. Sure, good players. But then let's go to Calvin Ridley at 7. And Chauncey Gardner-Johnson at 10, who was not a difference maker for that Eagles team. Bryce Huff, who had 2.5 sacks last year, number 11. Mike Williams, number 12, for the Jets. Kendall Fuller wasn't amazing for the Dolphins this year. Marquise Hollywood Brown, number 15. Free agency is fool's gold. And it's why I say that the Arizona Cardinals have to more so look into the trading market. They got to go get a guy like a Myles Garrett, like a Micah Parsons, like a Max Crosby. And in free agency, I think it is okay to do calculated risks instead of just being uberly aggressive. A calculated risk is T. Higgins. Go get him. You have the money for it. Marvin Harrison Jr. is on a cheap deal. By the time he gets a new one, he's gone. But a calculated risk, something that you have to do, be willing to get burned on, be willing to spend a bunch of money and get screwed over. Trey Smith, the Kansas City Chiefs guard. The Arizona Cardinals have a fine offensive line. Yoda Froholt, Paris Johnson Jr., Jonah Williams. We'll see how he does again next year. Potentially maybe not even on here. But you have 3 solid offensive linemen on this team. Paris Johnson Jr., Will Hernandez, who you got to bring back, and Yoda Froholt. You add another calculated risk, be willing to get burned on this deal, a winner in Trey Smith to come play guard for the Arizona Cardinals. You bolster that offensive line even further. You help out your young quarterback, You help out your young-ish quarterback in Kyler Murray. You make the running lanes easier for James Conner. Everything opens up when the offensive line is better. I will be willing to say, unless Trey Smith just gets an insane, gaudy, awful contract, ridiculous contract, if he doesn't get signed by the Arizona Cardinals, that will be a failure of an offseason. They just simply need that guy. They need to bolster up this offensive line, as well as the defensive line. The Arizona Cardinals offensive line was good last year. It could be even better. And then at that point, once you get Trey Smith, you just need a right tackle potentially. And then you have one of the best young offensive lines in the NFL. And Will Hernandez, Yoda Froholt, Trey Smith, and Paris Johnson Jr. That is up there with one of the better offensive lines. Kyler Murray has time in the pocket. James Conner is able to find rushing lanes. But those are the calculated risks I'm willing to watch the Arizona Cardinals go after. What I'm not willing to let them do is do what the Jacksonville Jaguars have done and the New England Patriots have done, and is just spend a ton of money in free agency just because you have the money. I'd rather you spend a bag on one dude and go bargain bin shopping for everyone else. I like the idea of going after a T. Higgins. I think it might be fun, and you have the money for it. You're not paying Marvin Harrison Jr. anything. Kyler Murray's already paid. But even more so than that, you got to go get Trey Smith. You got to outbid these other teams. You got to bolster your offensive line. You got to make it to where your offensive line is one of the best in the NFL. Give Kyler Murray no reason to not succeed. Give him another weapon in a good offensive line that will keep him upright all year long. That's where I'm at on it. Listen, you can go after any guy you want. Have fun with it. But the number one free agent target has to be Trey Smith. Do not let the Kansas City Chiefs bring him back. Outbid everyone else. Bolster this team. Last year, the defense wasn't the problem for the Cardinals. The reason why they didn't succeed was the offense. And you could say Kyler's getting pressure up the middle. What helps with that? A really good guard. King Nacho in the chat, Murray needs the O-line to be good. I'd argue Murray might need even more than that. But what did we just see with the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl? You got to load it up. Make everything awesome. For if a quarterback who doesn't make top 10 money is going to get to the Super Bowl, or at least just at the end at top 10 money, how are you going to win a Super Bowl? You got to bolster everything. And the offensive line is a key proponent of that.